Hello, friends. I'm back with Pouria Montazeri, and today we are tackling that question that the whole world revolves around. We're going to talk about love, love from a Sufi lens, from the very path of love itself. Salam, Pouria, how are you?
Salam, Tanya. I'm doing well. I'm so happy to be back here with you.
So wonderful to see you. So let's just dive into it. Let's talk about love. What is this love that Maulana Rumi and Sufism as a whole talks about over and over?
Well, to be really honest with ourselves and to be really honest with all the viewers that will be watching this conversation is to reveal the fact that one of the most futile things in life is to talk about love. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, that this is not a conversation that will reveal love. Love is something that needs to be experienced. So one cannot talk about love. Even Maulana himself said that I can write about pretty much everything under the sky, but when it comes to love, my pen breaks in two. And yet he went on writing about love, pointing to love. So definitely love is something to be experienced, to not mistake it with intellectual conversations about it. One way we could go about it is to talk about what it is not, or some of its roots in the language and in the spirituality that Rumi spoke from. And anyone who has ever fallen in love can attest to, like, well, good luck trying to explain to someone the experiences that you feel and the feelings that you experience, that it's called love. So we can easily see that that is very hard to do. A good place we can start is the word itself, the word Ishq. We have Ishq and Muhabbat, at least two of the many ways of pointing to this phenomenon that in English we only have one word for. Ishq comes from the root word ashaq. And ashaq is this ivy family plant that once it sets its deep roots beneath a tree, and when it sprouts, it starts to twist itself around the bark of the tree. And in Persian, that plant is called Ishq Pichan, meaning love entwined, because it is love that it wraps itself around the tree, which is its beloved. So the plant starts to twine itself counterclockwise, the way the planets move around the sun, the way that the dervishes whirl around their heart. And it does this until it gets the hold of the subject of its love, and then it continues to wrap itself around until it becomes one with it. So she goes from twining, which is longing, to wrapping, which is loving, to merging, which is union. So we can see that the root word for Ishq, which is love, in itself shows the journey of love: longing, loving, and union.
That desire to intertwine, that desire to be interrelated. It's as if just the plant in it of itself is just giving away so much information about the nature of what love is. I love that. That's really fabulous.
And it needs to be noted that everything in this existence innately has this drive. So that is why they say, like, love is all, or we are love. It can become a cliche, because a cliche is something that has a truth, but through redundancy and through not really being in touch with its roots any longer becomes a cliche. So that hidden energy, that invisible force that makes the planets go around, makes the sunflower follow the sun 24 hours a day, makes you and I grow or be connected. That invisible force that makes everything grow and connect to one another and makes life happen is love. So by this, we're invited to kind of go back from all of our current ideas of love. What happens is that through the forgetfulness, we get attached to the object and we forget the essence. We forget that there is an invisible, hidden driver here that is bringing us home. But on the way home, we mistake the different objects that reflect back to us its own roots of love as love.
Sometimes when I teach a meditation with gravity, I feel like gravity is one of the great symbols of love also. Our relationship with gravity is so symbolic of that attraction, of that need to draw, the need to connect. It's actually what stabilizes us. It is what gives us a sense of support. And this is where we're rooted. We're rooted in that pull and that magnetic force. So it's so true what you're saying, that all of creation is revolving around that same concept. There is this magnetic pull, this desire towards it.
Absolutely. And the mystics and the Sufis, what they invite us to do is, how can we be in touch with that pure, invisible energy and be guided by it and heed its call, and how to mature our inner five senses, the invisible senses, to be in touch with it, right? And that is why on the surface, we have a lot of talk about love. Everywhere we look, there's an attempt to explain love. Why is it we are so hungry for love still? And why is it there is such innate lack, this desperate for it? One is maybe we're not being guided by the essence of love. We're being guided by the shadow and the shadow and the shadow of love, or by other people's experiences of love and what the media or the culture defines for me as love. So just like a returning, that is the invitation of any spiritual path when it comes to love, is to kind of return and go back to the simplicity, and within one's heart try to feel and even ask and pray to experience love in its pure form, and to be able to purify and prune away all that we have accumulated as love, that not only is not the pure love, but also they have taken us stray from the path, which hence the amount of disappointment, unhappiness that we experience in our intra and interpersonal relationships.
So granted, we can examine it, we can question it, we can look at it. What is it? What is this need? And it sounds like we're all just innately pre-programmed for it. We're pre-programmed to look for love, to feel satisfied in love, to ache for love, and to yearn for love. Of course, we'll talk about what that love really is that we're actually deeply aching for. However, it takes on so many different forms before we reach that place, if we ever reach that place of complete sense of satisfaction. The Sufis always talk about it being a bittersweet reality, even when we wake up to the fact that the love that we're looking for truly, or the wine that we're seeking to drink, is not the worldly stuff. It's actually the divine stuff. And not having that is like that bittersweetness that we're left with. But we go through so many different processes of experiencing love, wanting to have love, feeling it through so the only thing we have at our disposal is human relationships with our animals, with the land, with what we are presented with in this world that we live in. So we go through that process. right? In order to reach that love, or as we say in Urdu and in Farsi, to get to Ishq Hakiki, we go through Ishq Majazi, right? And that sort of matures, cooks, prepares the individual towards that greater love, isn't it?
Absolutely. That is the hope for it. That is the ideal situation, that all the derivative love could bring us home. And the Sufis say that it's a little bit more difficult than that. That is why the spiritual practices and the presence of a guide is so important, that can teach us to discern between the form and inner meaning, not only to discern, but also to even acknowledge that that is the goal, because we can't assume that everyone that is out there kind of knowingly knows that there is a love of ishq haqiqi, there is a true love. So people could spend their entire life recycling derivative love. So I just want to point the importance of that, because life is too short. And that's why the Sufis remind us and give us the teachings, is to let us know that there is a difference between the two. And for me, one of the most beautiful teachings when I was very young, which is a saying that many Sufi poets have uttered, who knows who originated it, that even Maulana himself has uttered, was Harche dar bande ani, bande ani. Harche dar bande ani, bande ani. So what Sufis do is that they not only tell you about something, they give you the key and they give you the GPS as well, because we're not supposed to just be stuck on the theoretical aspects of it. They give us the tools in order to go on this path. So this saying basically says, Harche dar bande ani, bande ani. Whatever you are bound to, meaning you're yoked to, you're attached to, you're enslaved to, you spend the most amount of your thoughts and energy on, bande ani. You are its slave. You are yoked to it. It is your Lord. So imagine a child hearing this saying early on in its life. What a kind of humble pill to take, because immediately it brings responsibility back to the person. That pay attention. One of the good places to start when it comes about love is to make an assessment. What is it that you spend most of your time on a daily basis? What is it that consumes so much of your feelings and emotions and rumination? That is your Lord, not the God we speak of. So that's very humbling, and that's a great place to start. Yes, we have the innate drive for the ultimate love. The drop wants to become one with the ocean. The water in the stream is really hoping to get to the ocean. And yet, because of free will, because of all the conditionings and all the patterns and everything we've inherited from family and culture and religion and tradition, it's not so easy. So one GPS is to pause and assess one's life. Because the mouth and the thinking and the emotions could say, I want annihilation, I want love, I want God, I really want to know what love is. And yet, with honesty, if we look at every day, look at our actions, look at what we're seeking, what preoccupies our hearts and minds, we can see how congruent or incongruent our life is with that wish.
And yet it makes me think that that which you are obsessed with, that which you are enslaved to, that which you spend the maximum amount of your time thinking about, yes, it's very important to take a moment and to self-examine, of course. I mean, Sufism is all about that, to stop and take stock and self-examine. However, that thing that you are engaged with in your mind, be it your work or be it whatever it is, be it a person, be it any fascination. If we spend enough time with that thing, can that thing not in itself become a doorway to the ultimate?
Everything and everyone is an invitation and a doorway, without a doubt. Given we treat it that way. Like, for example, if I were to fall in love with someone, if I were to be in love with the work that I do or the craft or the art that I'm involved with, there's a huge difference when it comes to intention. There's a difference between if I'm just really in love and I'm really consumed with the person's physical form, their voice and how they move, and I spend years really being consumed with the form, or if I do a lot of art but not be really in touch with the essence of the art or the sacredness of art. There's a big difference between that than when I do these same things, but there is an intention and an attention and an awareness to love the form, love this person, but to be trying to reach something higher through this loving. Or when I'm doing my art, when I'm a painter, or when I'm a filmmaker, or when I'm a poet, how can the medium purify me? How can the medium bring me closer to my truth? Right? That is the big discernment. Otherwise, every artist, every lover would have reached the truth. But a Sufi, a dervish, a mystic, a saint, a seeker does the same thing, but in everything hiddenly, invisible to the naked eyes of others, he or she is seeking something higher, continuously and consciously. It's a win-win situation. We get to be with the form, but we're seeking the inner meaning of the form.
Wow, and this is so important to know, because then for so many people it could really change their perspective. So it doesn't mean that falling in love with the objects of the world or whatever exists in creation is wrong, but that when you do see anything as an invitation to fall in love with, be it your craft, be it your art, be it your work, be it loving somebody, before entering that space, knowing that this is in fact an invitation for me to find something deeper and higher, and to get to the essence of love itself, not just be stuck in the realm of service to that particular thing, but that in and of itself becoming a vehicle for something greater. And having that mindset, even before entering a situation like that, is very informative. It's very educational, and it can open one's worldview and change.
It is a privilege, and it is a privilege. It is very informative. What a world we would have if our children learned that, because we mistake means for ends.
Yes.
And the fact that none of the means are satisfactory, it should no longer be a point of discussion anymore in 2020 with 5,000 years of written history and all the things that manifested. The privilege that we have, if we pay attention, we can see that, of course, the means are not satisfactory. They're all are means to an end. But on this journey, you honor, you love, you respect the means, because they're taking you to an end. So there is no bypassing, there is no hierarchical. You just put things in their right place. And that is why the means are never satisfactory, because they're impermanent. There is every love ends, every one we love dies or lies. There is only one faithful one in this entire world, and that is this compassionate existence, the essence of who we are, the heart that is inside of our own being. It's truly the only faithful manifestation in this existence. Everyone else relies on that. So falling in love and being reliant on something that is already relying on something, is called hell in life, is a manifestation of being in hell.
Wow, that's so profound. Yeah. No, I think that's phenomenal. Just knowing that we are focused on the means rather than the end, and we take the means to be the end. But to shift that perspective and know that it's actually something, which is why you're absolutely right, the means always fail. They always fail us. That is why there's so many dejected lovers in this world, and so many, disappointed love stories, or disappointing love stories that end sort of by the wayside, fall by the wayside, and don't reach fruition of heart. Because what we're seeking is something much greater, and these things are just merely a means to that end. And to seek
That is why, exactly, that's why the prophets and the saints always say, don't underestimate yourself. You are a lot larger and vaster and worthy than you think of yourself to be. So we talked about Harchedar Bande Ani, Bande Ani as an assessment. Another form of assessment is to ask ourselves, what do I love? What do I love? Because our love teaches us what to look for and where to be and what to focus on. Whatever we love becomes our center of gravity, and it becomes our compass. It becomes our inner GPS. So another way is to ask myself, what is it that I love? Because that is what is invisibly driving every action. It informs what I look for. So that's very connected to the first assessment as well. What is it that is I'm preoccupied with most? So another big, beautiful question is, what do I love? And be really honest. Because then in itself, the exercise reveals to you why you are the way you are, why you are attached to the certain things you are attached, why there are certain hindrances on your path. Because that which you love tells you what to look for, how to be, how to manifest. So this exercise makes the unconscious, invisible inner GPS that is already directing you, it is making it conscious for you. It makes you become really aware of it, and that really helps you. And when we know where our treasure lies, when we know what we love and what is sacred and right meaning balance and harmony for us, then our life will be aligned with our intention. So if we do feel misalignment, if we do feel that there's incongruency between our intention and action, is to really get in touch with our GPS, inner GPS. And one of the best ways is to go about this love. And knowing that just like Michelangelo, he was chiseling away all that wasn't, David, we are in a process of chiseling away all that is really not love, all that we think is love, all the means that we have mistaken for the end, all the things that we've been told. And once and for all, we want to be empowered. We want to take control. I need to know. I need to find out. And finally, never underestimating the deep yearning prayer of the heart of asking God, show me love as it is. Inflame my heart with love. Have me be consumed in love so I can really know what love is. So from that knowing, I can then live a loving life.
That's so fabulous. I love that. That was great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Pouria Jan. This is enlightening as always.
My deep pleasure, likewise.